Awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to have Floris from SciSports. Correct, Floris.
Correct.
Yeah, like before the recording, I was times asking Floris if I'm saying that correct and repeating myself. So glad that I got it. All right, Floris, introduce yourself.
Yeah, so first of all, Kirill, thanks for having me. Happy to be here and to talk to you today. So I'm Floris. I work for as head of data science for SciSports. I've been working in sports analytics for basically the past decade. First in professional basketball in the Netherlands, and for the last 6-7 years in professional football, ending up at SciSports where I am today still.
And by the way, have you played basketball or football when you were growing up?
No, actually not. So I've been playing field hockey on a high
Uh-huh.
level when I was young, and also did some work later in field hockey. But I've not been playing any football or basketball.
Okay, yeah, I got you. All right, yeah, so tell us a little bit about what you do, guys, and what you as a, data scientist doing and what the company does.
Yeah, so what we do with SciSports SciSports is basically a software company that builds cloud solutions for various use cases within football, professional
Mm-hmm.
football, but also amateur and youth football. And it essentially falls into two different categories, one being scouting and recruitment, and the other one being performance analysis, tactical analysis. But at its core, it's always about using data in various forms to analyze the game, analyze players, and help decision makers within football, coaches, sporting directors, agents make informed decisions using data and using insights coming from that data.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So I would say, your main value comes from representing the data to in a needed way to a needed person.
Yeah. I always like to say that we are not a data provider, but we provide insights to our users. So we take various forms of data, event data, tracking data can come from the different sources, and we try to translate that into visualizations, insights, all that sort of thing that the user can use.
Okay, yeah, then it's interesting question for you since it's your core business and your core things that you are thinking about every day. So the question here is like, how do you see this data, like any kind of the data available could be used? Like, what is the most monetized thing where this data could be used and who is the, customer and how?
Yeah, good question. So this differs a lot between use cases, right? So SciSports originated as a scouting application where you typically use match sheet data, event data, data that is commercially available and that you can buy and find for many competitions and players around the world. So it can give you insights on a large number of players. Actually, for example, we cover over 200,000 professional players in our application.
Mm-hmm.
So there the value is in how broad it is, in being able to have information on that whole subset of players. While if you talk more about performance analysis, tactical analysis, where you basically use event data, tracking data together with video to really do in-depth analysis of a match, tactics, physical performance, all that kind of things. It's not something that's commercially available. You cannot just go and say, all right, I want to buy the entire Serie A of tracking data for those matches. It's typically closed and it's owned by a federation or by the teams. But there the value is in how rich the data is and the insights that you can generate on it, because then you can go much deeper, but for a different purpose, so to say.
Okay, so right, in terms of the, scouting and performance, two different things, right? But what do you see is, I will say, the most used one, and the organizations are ready to pay for what more? Like, is it for scouting or is it?
I would say it's fairly equal. It's different parts of the organization actually that use
Mm,
it. So for scouting, a typical user is obviously a scout or a head of recruitment or a sporting director or that department of the club. While for performance, it's typically the technical staff of a team.
mm-hmm,
Coaches, assistant coaches, video analysts, performance analysts. So there are two different entities within the same club that at least from where I stand, I see that clubs typically use data or data-driven solutions in both of those departments nowadays. So they are more or less equal, I would say.
Interesting. And you mentioned that performance data is being used by video analysis and etc. So do they receive the raw data from you guys and then proceed with it, or how does it work, let's say, on the performance side of the things?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, one thing to clarify is that when you talk about performance,
Mm-hmm.
historically it's often about physical data, right? Because a
Yeah.
performance analyst in the team is often responsible for like load monitoring and that sort of thing. And that's where tracking data has in the last decade has been used a lot for, whether it's GPS or optical tracking data, or but that's what performance analysis traditionally entails. But nowadays we use that same data, so tracking data combined with event data, combined with video, a lot for tactical analysis as well. And there obviously there are teams that work with the raw data themselves,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they have an in-house data department that can work with that.
Mm-hmm.
But many teams actually do, for example, with the product that we provide them, we basically process the data and we use, let's say, tracking and event data to automatically create playlists of video moments or tactical insights, visualizations, that sort of thing. So there,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we do the processing of the raw data and turn it into insights, and the client actually, for example, the video analyst loads a sports code XML into their video analysis tool to
Mm-hmm.
automatically create a timeline of events based on the data that we provide, for example.
Okay, yeah, I got you. So you provide them a file where they load it to the sports code, right? And that's how it works.
Yeah.
Interesting, interesting, yeah, interesting approach. All right. So in terms of the performance and scouting, we've covered two things that this is what you're currently doing, is that correct? And tell us about the future.
So one of the things we've been most busy with in the past couple of years is what I call squad management. So this is actually something that we've done a lot of research on. We're part of a EU-funded research consortium on basically using AI solutions for planning. In our case, planning your squad towards the future. So that's a consortium of different universities and companies. For example, Airbus is in there as well. There's an Italian company in there as well. There's 5 big European universities where we actually do research on how can you use data, how can you use AI to really plan for your squad of the future. So not just to scout for players in your squad, because that's what we're already doing, right? But really
Yeah.
manage your team, plan your team for the next 1-2 years, because that's already a pretty long term in football.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And to be more specific, let's say you're a sporting director, your goal is to basically achieve two things. You want to have your team perform as good as possible. So you want to
Mm-hmm.
create a squad that is as good as possible, meaning it wins as many matches as possible. And you want to do so in a, let's say, financially sustainable way. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to make money as well, or at least not lose money. You ideally want your players to go up in value. And that's all pretty clear cut. But then the difficulty in that is that a football team is not just a single player that you need to scout, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about finding the best striker
Mm-hmm.
for your team, but it's about managing that entire squad and understanding that there's interactions, that
Mm-hmm.
performance in football is very much context dependent. So if I get a new striker in, it will affect the strikers that I currently have, both in their development, both in as well as in their financial value, etc. Right. So what we do with squad management is actually we have been building and we are already like using this with a couple of, let's say, beta users. We have been building a system that allows you to really get in-depth insights in what does my squad look like at the moment, how is it developing, how are individual players developing, but also can I get recommendations for players that fit well into the squad? And if I would add those players, how would it affect my team in terms of
Mm-hmm.
performance, but also in terms of development of existing players? What are potential weak spots? What are potential players that I
Mm-hmm.
should sell or not sell, or all those kind of things, basically.
Okay, yeah, that's really, I will say we could speak about this whole day, how it's being done. But tell us, what are the parameters you take into the consideration while doing squad management? Like, let's say, again, like you said, squad management, it's a lot of different points, right? A lot of
Yeah.
things. And then let's say in case we want to predict if the player will fit into our team good enough. What are you taking into consideration to produce a insight on this?
Yeah, good question again. So Like you say, ultimately, squad management is very complicated because there's so many variables that have an impact, right? Football is a really complex sport with lots of different moving parts. But if we look at various aspects, then we can indeed model that. And for example, if you look at how a player fits into your team, we for example, have models for team playing style and player playing style, right? So we use clustering approaches that have been trained on event data from a lot of matches to identify what is your team playing like and which types of events are important for that playing style. And we can check for potential transfer targets, like what is their experience with that specific playing style? How could they potentially fit in that specific playing style? And for example, if you want to make it really practical, I'll give you a simplified example. And it's, for example, about finding a player that is currently playing in a 5-man defense or a 4-man defense. So a left back in a 5-man defense can be really different from a left back in a 4-man defense.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about finding players that fit into the desired playing style that you have or that have experience with that playing style. And that's just a very small part, obviously, of the whole system, but that is a part at least.
Interesting, right? So you take and analyze from the event data, you take and analyze the playing style of the current team of the client who asks for your services. Based on this, so you analyze it like how many, you analyze it a season long or how long?
So it depends, right? For example, if your team has had the same coach for the past 3 seasons, it can be fairly stable and it can be interesting to look at it over a longer time. If you have just changed coaches 6 months ago, then it might not be that relevant to look back 3 years in time because the situation might be entirely different. No. But what we typically do is we analyze an entire season of matches and look at not just a single playing style for a team, but how often you employ different playing styles. So as you know, some teams, they have a really strong, let's say, tactical identity. They always play the same. They have their own playing style, their own strategy. And other teams, they really adapt to the opponent. So we also show like how often do you use different types of play and that sort of thing and in what matches. So yeah, again, it really depends on the specific team in the end.
Okay, yeah, I got you. That makes sense. So basically you analyze it, you found out the patterns, right, of this team. And then is it done like by AI or who analyzes, the whole season, like you said?
Yeah, that's that is done by AI systems. So I mean, nowadays, if you say AI, a lot of people think large language models, but there's obviously much more than just that. So there's various machine learning approaches and heuristic approaches underneath that ultimately analyze your entire team. So parts are rule based, parts are AI driven, but yeah, that's what supports the analysis.
Okay, yeah, I got you. Basically, then you do the analyze everything. Then you said you're trying to analyze, let's say you found out the team style, right? How they play. But then you need to analyze which events are important for this style. Is that correct?
Yeah. And then you need to find players that are doing those types of events or that fit well into that type of playing style, for example, for a given position.
Yeah, so for example, if team likes to cross a lot and then they need a person who is good, shooting with their head, doing shots, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then you need to analyze the market and figure out who is the good.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Because in the end, the goal is for the system to output a list of potential transfer targets that would fit well into your team based on playing style, based on financial considerations, right? You have only a certain amount of money to spend. And based on how it affects the team performance and the team development. And then ultimately, let's say you talk to a team, you figure out based on the analysis and the input of the team, they need a left back. The goal of the system is to provide a list of 20 potential left backs that fit their criteria, fit the playing style, fit all those conditions, and they can actually start scouting and considering.
Scouting using your platform as well.
Yeah. And I mean, using our platform amongst other things, right? Because they might. We also have video on the on our platform, for example. So they want to do video scouting. They want to use data scouting. They might even want to do live scouting. They have other sources of information, amongst which our platform is definitely one.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so this is a one part of our squad management. How does the player will fit the team? Let's say in particular, like hiring players. But the other part you've mentioned is that, like, let's say how the team will develop over time, and this is interesting part. Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so there's two aspects to that, right? You have the development of skill and value
Mm-hmm.
of players, which I'll touch upon first, and then you have the development of the performance. So what if I add this player to my team? How will it change our expected points over the season, for example? But if you consider that first point, for example, we have AI-driven models that predict the estimated transfer value of a player. They are actually pretty accurate in predicting the estimated transfer value of a player. So the price for which a player would sell on a transfer market if you were to sell the player right now. We have a good understanding of the different components that
Mm-hmm.
drive value, basically. And one of the key components there is playing time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know that, consider the striker as a position group. If you add a new striker to the team, if we can, with fair accuracy, predict the amount of playing time for that striker and for the
Mm-hmm.
existing strikers, you can model how it impacts the estimated transfer value of the players.
Mm-hmm.
So to make it concrete, let's say you now have two 23-year-old strikers that
Yeah.
both play around 50% of the minutes. If you now add a 27-year-old striker that's a bit better than those two current ones, then it might end up that they only play 20% of the minutes and
Mm-hmm.
just the other striker gets 80% of the minutes. Then we can model the impact on the value of those players, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So we can understand, right, what if I add this player? How would it affect these two other players in their development? And in the end, then you can model the trade-off, right? Because the other striker, he might be a little bit more experienced, a little bit better, which might result in a bit more expected
Goals.
points,
Yeah.
goals, that sort of thing. But it might also result in a bit less value for those two young talents that you have. So it's a trade-off between winning more matches and making more money on existing players, which you have to balance. And that's the job of a sporting director, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
in the end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. So basically, the key components that you mentioned, that playing time, and what else do you take into consideration?
So there's a lot of factors that are related to value that do not necessarily change if you add other players, right? So age, position group, that sort of thing. But also we have different performance indexes for a player, like size, skill, and potential, which are generic skill indexes to say how good a player is and how good we think he can become over time.
Mm-hmm.
And they also change when you play less or play more, or play in a different
Mm-hmm.
competition, for example. And they also impact transfer value, especially potential. So
Mm-hmm.
the transfer market nowadays really values young talent. So
Mm-hmm.
players with a lot of potential and a young age, those are the players that people pay most money for,
Mm-hmm.
even if they play limited minutes, as long as they've already accomplished some performance. While for older players, the impact of minutes is going to be different. So we take age into account, we take the position into account, we take the potential performance level in the future that we predict into account. We take team performance into account because, for example,
Mm-hmm.
if you add that striker, you gain more points, which will help you qualify for the Champions League. Then the value of the
Mm-hmm.
entire squad will go up
Uh-huh.
again, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
yeah, I mean, you already see it's pretty complicated in terms of the number of factors to account for.
Yeah, really interesting. So, from what I hear, you are focusing on squad management. Is that the main thing your company focuses for future?
I wouldn't say the main thing. So we are, I mean, I would say we're pretty versatile in terms of the number of things that we do. So scouting, and then on top of that, squad management is one thing. But then on the other hand, and that's actually where I personally come from because that's where I started my career in football analytics in. We also do tactical analysis, data-driven tactical analysis, and really match level analysis. Video combined with data-driven analysis. And that's something that we're focusing on a lot as well, especially bringing data-driven match analysis solutions to a larger audience. So not only the top of the football pyramid, but also youth leagues, women's football, that lower tier competitions, to really provide high-tech solutions where you use data for your analysis to a large group of clients in football.
Okay, so is it based out of the videos, and is it like a tracking and event data combined, or what is it all about, technical analysis?
Yeah, so we have various options there. So we have an option that only uses event data, which is obviously a bit more limited, as I mean, you only see part of the game with
Mm-hmm.
event data, essentially. Typically, what happens with the ball or around the ball, which can still allow you to do a lot of match analysis, right? It gives you, you can get all kinds of stats for it. You
Mm-hmm.
can generate automated playlists for your video using that event data. So we already offer this with event data only. And then we offer an enriched variant, basically, where you also use tracking data, where we do a lot more in-depth tactical analysis on patterns. For example, how are you organized in pressing or in build-up or that sort of thing.
Hmm. Okay, yeah, interesting. So basically, probably for more professional clubs, I mean, you're already doing it, but for the future, I mean, future plans for professional clubs, you're pushing this squad management product and service. And then on top of that, for the future plans, you're going down the pyramid to cover more youth football and to be able to provide a insights and tactical insights for them.
Yeah, so we have been doing that already for the past couple of years. We've been doing it a lot, for example, also in the US when it comes to especially the match analysis
Mm-hmm.
product as well. I mean, we've already for years been doing tactical analysis with professional competitions, for example, in the
Mm-hmm.
Netherlands. But yeah, you're right. We've recently started to provide this in a lot more, for example, youth competitions. Yeah, so that's something that we're actively focusing on as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, interesting. So, Floris, we are about to end our podcast, but I'd love to ask you a couple blitz questions at the end. All
Yeah.
right. So the first one, what is your favorite sport?
Ooh, that's a difficult one. I would say that goes between basketball and football.
Okay, not the field hockey.
I mean, I like sports in general, especially team sports. So I like to watch a lot of sports and to do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sports myself as well. So yeah, picking one is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's as I said, I like a lot of sports to be honest.
Okay, yeah. Then who is your favorite player in all possible sports, just the athlete?
I would say based on career and accomplishment, probably LeBron James.
LeBron James. Okay. What is the favorite part of your job?
My favorite part of the job is that no one day is the same. So, I mean, I'm responsible for anything within SciSports related to data, AI, some computer vision as well. One day I'm talking to coaches. The other day I'm programming new solutions or training a model. Or so I like yeah, I mean, the versatility and all the different things that go on in my work.
Okay, but what is the worst part of your work?
The worst part of my work, that's a difficult one. I mean, that might sound a bit cheesy, but there's not that many things about my work that I really dislike, to be honest. The worst part in football can be that things can change really quick and you need to, yeah, sometimes turn around stuff real quickly to react to changing circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
For example, which can come with some stress and time pressure. I mean, yeah, overall, there's mostly fun parts to my job actually.
Okay, what advice would you give to someone who is looking to build something valuable in sport page?
That's a really good question. I would say think about how you can provide what I call actionable insights. So I see a lot of people like building beautiful dashboards or apps or whatever that they push on social media that show a lot of different aspects of the game. But think for yourself, how will this analysis actually help a coach improve
Mm-hmm.
the team or help players develop or find a better player? So what is actually the value of the insights that you generate
Mm-hmm.
and how actionable is it actually? So is it descriptive or does it actually tell me something that I can act upon?
Yeah, so that's the scene we were talking about, right? Couple yesterday, I'm sorry, that some coaches have a lot of data, but a lot of them say, then what I do with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a key factor, right? Let's say that you and me, we can tell you about any aspect of a team or a player, but it's not about
Mm-hmm.
being able to describe what they do or what they've done, but it's about, yeah, providing a decision maker, be it a coach or a sporting director, with information they can actually act upon that
Mm-hmm.
helps them improve their decision making, the development of a player, the result of a team, that sort of thing.
Awesome, Floris. So it was great to have you. It was awesome to listen about SciSports and to hear your plans, and especially to dive deep into the squad management system and how you guys are doing it and planning to do in future. Really interesting stuff.
Thanks for having me. I was happy to be here.
Yeah, bye.
Bye bye.